And rolling on your side, big game this week, Boise State taking on Washington State, and a gentleman who, I describe as the most rabid Boise State fan that I know, Bronco Blammer. Jacob Blammer joins us now, getting ready for his annual trip to his beloved Boise. Good morning, sir.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
I'm a fan of yours, as you know, correct?
I do appreciate that. Yes, sir.
We always have you on at least once a year. So for people that aren't familiar with you, why do you like Boise State so much? I mean, you have a show on YouTube. You do all these things. You have the players on. You have a life, a family, and yet you have this media entity that you've created on your own devoted to Boise State.
Yes, sir. Well, who couldn't be a fan of Boise State, especially this season? The fans are showing up, and it definitely is demonstrating the excitement that is in Boise right now. But the reason that I personally am a Boise State fan, first and foremost, goes to the family connections. I say that I was born into the fan base, so that last name may sound familiar, obviously. Gene Blammer, he's my great uncle. So obviously was born a Boise State fan, but like I said before, who couldn't be a fan of this program? What Spencer Danielson is doing with it, what Jeremiah Dickey is doing with the program.
Now, wait a minute. Now, come on, Bronco. I love you, but, I could get that from Jeremiah Dickey. You're across the country. You used to live, I believe, in SEC country. Now you've come over to the other side of the river. But, why is this for you? And, again, instead of watching TV or the shows, you're creating content. You yourself are your own media entity. How did that start?
Well, I was going through pilot training in 2020, and COVID had hit, and I was sitting in my dorm room, isolated, not able to hang out with anybody, and I needed some connection to the fan base. I needed some connection to Boise State, and so I'm trying to go on YouTube, trying to find just some previews of the season that has been restarted, just saying, hey, I need some Boise State content in my life right now. And there wasn't anything out there. The Bronco Nation News hadn't started their stuff up yet. They started a little bit after that. And so, I thought, man, if there's nothing else out there, nobody else doing this, I talk on the radio every day when I'm flying. I could theoretically do this. It's not scarier than that. And so I just sat down and made my first video, and it has escalated from there. And for me personally, I just find it as a great outlet for me to be able to be a fan and to express my own fandom. But it's definitely exploded and grown more than I could ever anticipate it. Just past 2,000 subscribers this last week. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time.
Yeah, so you're a pilot?
Yes, sir.
So you fly planes in the air, but you love Boise State football.
Well, Boise State has really kind of consumed my entire life. The YouTube channel, for me, I just consider it a hobby. But Boise State football, I have my entire life growing up as a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force, moving around. I definitely had to keep the flame alive. We lived in a lot of, like you said, SEC country. I've lived in Big Ten country. I've lived in Big 12 country. And it's tough when you're the only Boise State fan around. So maybe it was that. Maybe it was always having to stand up against people that hated the blue or that would dog on the program. Living in Ohio was tough. Those Ohio State fans, they are not that fans of Boise State, that's for sure. So maybe it was having to keep the flame alive as a Boise State fan by myself all these years. But I don't know, whatever it is, Boise State, it's a big part of my life. I'm sitting in my room right now looking at all of my Boise State jerseys and hats around the room right now. And so for me, the Boise State YouTube channel gives me an opportunity to be able to express a big part of what has been a big part of my life.
That and on Twitter and everything else. So we take living here for granted, but this is a special weekend for you. You come in, you take the photos, maybe you talk to some people, but this for you is like other people when they go to like Hawaii.
Yes, sir. This is what I look forward to the most every single year. Boise for me is my favorite place on earth. It's like I said, being a military brat, I never got to have a home really, moving around every 2 years. I've had 18 homes in 27 years so far. But Boise was always my quote-unquote hometown. Every single year we would come back, see the family, go to a Boise State game if it was around that time of year. And so for me, I consider Boise to be my hometown, even again, I didn't get the honor and blessing of growing up and living there. So for me, coming back to Boise, obviously it's not just family, it's not just the blue turf and Boise State. It's what the city of Boise is and the people of Boise. I am incredibly excited for this weekend.
Yeah, so what do you do? Come on, and people are going to go, Kevin, this isn't very exciting. To me, it is, because here you have this young man that has loved the area for so long, and as a fellow military brat, I can relate to you. You know, it's like you're always getting ready for the next jump. So, I mean, you come home and you get a chance to not only see the blue, but, you know, go around town, have the food. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, I actually have some exciting opportunities with Boise State this time around, actually. The Boise State esports team has reached out to me and asked for me to come and tour their facility. So that's going to be a fantastic opportunity. I can't wait to do that. But in general, when I come up to Boise, obviously, you know, seeing the family and things like that. But for me, I like to go, I hit some of my favorite restaurants. I like to go down to Big Bun, go down Boise Fry Company. Those were always favorites of mine growing up. But I go around and I hit the food. I hit the walk along the river. That is probably one of my favorite spots on all of Earth, right in front of the stadium there, the river walk and the geese coming up the bank. And so, yeah, I go around and I see the family, and I go around the town, and I always make sure, no matter if it's season or not, I make a trip to Boise State, make a trip down by the Blammer Athletic Center, and go down to see the whole thing.
What's that like to see that facility named after your great uncle and just his legacy that, you know, I don't think that anyone can ever give him enough credit for?
It's a surreal experience, because growing up, again, watching the games on TV, you know, I see Boise State, I see the players as celebrities. I see the team as this is bigger than it actually maybe is, you know, not just a team itself, but a part of my identity. And so coming down and seeing the Blammer name on it, obviously that has nothing to do with me. That's all my great uncle and everything that he was able to do with his incredible time at Boise State. But it's a surreal experience, seeing that connection and knowing that we have that family tie to Boise State. Like I said, that obviously has what created me as a fan for Boise. But just being able to know that there is that tie and that there's a deeper connection than just simply being a fan, it's a surreal experience, and it's definitely something that I stand there and ponder a little bit every time that I'm down.
Well, to your great uncle, I mean, here's a guy that went out on a limb, and he's created something, and he would never take credit for this, but he's created something that legitimately rivals or exceeds what people think of when they think of Idaho. They think of the blue turf, the blue. I mean, in the old days, they called it Smurf turf, and those are the outsiders. They don't understand the value of the blue. But, you know, it's such a remarkable story, not only about football, but marketing and how just, you know, recoloring a turf has it created such an iconic brand where, you know, Boise State doesn't have the resources of an Oklahoma or Texas or an Alabama, but yet it is such a prominent national brand, obviously from its success, Bronco, but on the other hand, it's from the blue turf.
Yes, sir. I mean, Boise State, obviously, it's not just the blue turf. It's all the coaches that have come through. It's all the incredible athletes that have come through that program and made it what it is. You don't get national notoriety if you don't have wins. But the blue turf has definitely been a big part of what has helped that success along. I know originally when my uncle put the blue turf in, it was a big secret. You know, only a couple of people in the athletic department actually knew that was happening. And when the coaches found out, because they were not part of the original team that was in the know, when they found out that was going in, and it wasn't much time before it actually went in, they were not initially, you know, super huge fans of the blue turf. But after the blue went in, I mean, they came back to my uncle and they said, you know, we're getting into the living rooms of recruits that we would never have even talked to or heard of us before, and a big part of it is because of the blue turf. And so obviously they said, you have to have the wins, you have to have the Fiesta Bowls, you have to have all the success, everything that, you know, Chris Peterson did, and all, you know, Dan Hawkins, the Dirt Cutter, and everyone before him. You have to have all of that. But the blue turf, you know, hitting its 38th anniversary this last year, it changed the landscape of college football, and it changed the trajectory of Boise State.
What do you think? And you've had a chance from your again, a side hustle, your passion, Bronco Blammer, but you've talked to these players. I mean, I've been impressed. You've had the athletic director on, Jeremiah Dickey. You've had on, I believe, Ashton Genty. You've had on some big names. How do you do that? I mean, these young people, they're, you know, like you, they're on these devices, but why would they come on with a rabid fan, obviously, but, you know, but you're out of state? How do you hook the big interviews?
Well, just correction, I haven't had Ashton Genty on yet. I did have Tyler Crow on over this last season, but or off season. But I'm just gonna be honest and say that it's not me. It's the character and quality that is Boise State. I just reach out to these players, either whether they're former players, current, or, you know, Jeremiah Dickey. I reach out, whether that's via Twitter DM or sometimes it's over Facebook. and just ask them if they'll come on. And it's because of them. It's got nothing to do with me. It's because, Boise State has a certain culture that they live by, a certain culture of kindness and generosity. And the team is what it preaches. It is what they say they are. And so I've been blown away by the kindness of the players that have decided to come on my channel and talk to me. Just a normal average fan who's got a little YouTube channel. I've decided to come on and want to talk about Boise State. But another big part of it is that these players are passionate about their program. Again, whether that's former, current, or future. I've had a couple of
now. Wait a minute.
As well.
Passionate about their program. You should run for office because it takes me a while to get in on you here. But you're going, hey, what do you want to talk about? I go, oh, dude, bro, you'll be fine, which you are. So we have all this big money in college football, Bronco. I mean, nobody's funding the Bronco Blammer YouTube channel. What do you make of that? And the comments of the coach, Spencer Danielson, said, hey, man, we want to develop you. And if you're into that, great. If not, we'll be seeing you. And what happened over the offseason where he was talking about big-time programs trying to poach the players.
Well, college football is changing, and obviously that's going to impact Boise State. You have players that are now making that NIL, and I think that's a great opportunity for them. Obviously, Ashton Genty and other players like that on the team getting what they deserve. But at the same time, Boise State doesn't change that much, and I think you see that at the base core. Ashton Genty, he had offers of twice what Boise State gave him. 800,000 plus type offers from other programs. At least that was what was reported. And he decided to stay. But you see from other programs, coming out last night, 11 p.m., UNLV's quarterback, Luka, announcing that he didn't get enough money at UNLV or that they didn't honor it somehow and that he's transferring and they're claiming poaching. There's a lot of complexity to that. But the thing is here is at Boise State that it's not just about the money. The money will be a role, but at the end of the day, we recruit OKGs. And so we are wanting players that want to be here, that are, again, passionate about their program, and that have a character that wants to be developed. And I think that's where you see Boise State set itself aside. They have the NIL, but at the end of the day, it's not all about the NIL.
Yeah. Finally, as a guy who loves the program, how big a difference has Jeremiah Dickey made?
Oh, my goodness. He is one of the most incredible athletic directors all time at Boise State. Boise State had really kind of started to plateau out. I wouldn't say that they declined because I don't think that Boise State.
Well, now remember, we had the release of the Harsin emails that was not too kind to the athletic director, was not too kind to the university president, was not too kind to the Mountain West, and I mean, you had the turbulence which led to Coach Harsin making a bad call, a rather lucrative call for him to go to Auburn, but there was some turbulence there. So now, Bronco, I'm not going to let you slide here. I'm coming back at you.
No, I agree. I mean, like I said, there was definitely not the escalation in the trajectory of the program that we expect out of Boise State after my uncle was left the program. And so Jeremiah Dickey coming back in, what he's done is truly incredible. He has had record-breaking fundraising, which again, that's credit to Bronco Nation as well, stepping up. But he's had record-breaking fundraising. He has increased the average season attendance at Boise State every single year, despite Boise State prior to this season being on a downward trajectory when it comes to their football program, a couple of the worst seasons in school history, and yet Bronco Nation, and a big part of that because of the stadium experience that Jeremiah Dickey has brought to the Blue, with the lights and the concession improvements and everything else that he's done. It's a big credit to him. I don't think Boise State would be where they are today on their current conference trajectory, on their current team trajectory, keeping these coaches and these players, if it was not for Jeremiah Dickey. He has been the single greatest influence in Boise State over the last few years.
Yeah, it's not tough to come into a town. And a couple more questions for you, Bronco, and then we're going to let you go. You don't mind if I call you Bronco, do you?
No, absolutely. Like I said, Bronco or Jacob, either one works. I started Bronco Blammer just kind of as a channel moniker, and some people, when they come on the channel, they think that's my actual name. So I go by either one. It's totally fine.
Okay, so right here on KIDO Talk Radio. So what do you make of the move with the Pac? I'm going to give you my opinion real quick. I don't want to lead the witness, but the Mountain West was never in love with Boise State. And again, you have no problem correcting me. Back when they had Utah, TCU, I'm trying to think, and BYU, it wasn't like they wanted Boise State there. Boise State was in the WAC. I believe they didn't really, if nothing else, they didn't want Boise State to move from the WAC to the Mountain West, only when those teams left. And then you had well, you can't wear the blue on blue, and then they agreed to a deal. So what I'm saying is it's never been a love fest between Boise State and the Mountain West. Leading into, do you agree with this move, and do you agree with my statements? Again, you know more about the program than I do concerning their relationship with the Mountain West.
Well, let me say, just baseline, I do agree with this move. I know a lot of the fan base is in a state of, at least initially, until the move from the AAC teams not coming over was announced. But they were a little bit of a state of hysteria at the initial announcement, just, dancing the streets and extreme excitement. I wasn't necessarily in that same boat. I had some questions and some qualms, but overall I think it's a positive move. I think it's the only move that you can make right now. You don't want to be stuck where, UNLV is right now, where you're looking at a conference that just became one of the worst in the group of five. So, I mean, if San Diego State, Fresno State, Colorado State leave, you have to go with them. So at a baseline, this is better than the alternative. Now, if I was to actually fully answer this question, it would take an hour and a half. I'm not going to do that whole thing. I encourage people to check out the videos I've done on my channel discussing this.
Oh, my gosh. He's plugging his own channel as our guest, Bronco. Shame on you.
But to answer your question here, I think there are some negative drawbacks to joining the Pac-12.
Bronco, come on. You're not addressing my Mountain West thing. How Boise State had to sue the Mountain West to get their TV money. Do you forget about that, Bronco? Do you forget about that?
No, sir. But but the Pac-12 isn't necessarily going to be any kinder on that stage. Nobody likes to see Boise State get what it deserves. I do think that the Mountain West hasn't treated Boise State exactly how they should. Definitely has last season or 2 seasons ago, tried to say that Boise State didn't deserve that extra TV money anymore, like you said, and they had to sue them. So, yeah, Mountain West has definitely not treated Boise State as its prized possession that they should, and maybe they're learning the consequences of that. However, at the end of the day, like I said, the move to the Pac-12, it's not all positive. There are some negative drawbacks. I do still have some questions, but I do agree with the move, and I think that it's the best thing compared to the alternative.
All right, finally, we appreciate you being a good sport. And please call me Kevin, okay? I'm an old man, but I'm not that old, please. Finally, Jacob, how excited are you to be in the stadium with all the upgrades, the new sound system, the blue, all a big game? You're coming back. I mean, can you share that with us? You're excited. Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually also was able to acquire a sideline pass for this game, and so I'm going to be able to be
come on!
I know. I'm going to be able to be on the blue with a sold out. I anticipate 40,000 plus Bronco Nation pouring out everything they've got as Boise State goes into the fourth quarter with a lead. It's going to be incredible. I think it's going to be one of the greatest moments of my life, and so I don't know if I have the words to describe my excitement. I hope that it translates in my voice, but I am beyond thrilled for this game. And I think, honestly, just being on the blue, being in the game is amazing. Being in the stadium, always coming back to Boise is amazing. But getting to play this team, this Washington State team, this 4-0 Washington State team that has their own playoff aspiration, it's going to be one of the best games I think I've ever witnessed, in person at least, as a Boise State fan.
All right, Bronco Blammer on Twitter and YouTube, and we admire you and your passion and you making time for us when you're not flying the planes.
I appreciate that, sir. Thanks so much for having me on. As always, anything that I'm on, I always end it the same way. Go Big Blue!